Two of the worst teams in the Big 12 face off this weekend, or at least according to the standings. But is that really the truth? Here's a quick breakdown of each team's current status, keys to victory, and final prediction for the game. Let's start with Oklahoma. A win followed by a bye week might be exactly what the Sooners needed to right the ship. Offensively, this team did a 180. Before I get into the obvious difference maker at quarterback, I'm going to take a moment to pat myself on the back for being right about Eric Gray. All last year, I complained about him not being used effectively in this offense. Sure, we did have Kennedy Brooks back there, but even when Gray did get touches, he wasn't put in the best position to succeed. I'm happy to see I was proven right. Gray has revealed himself as one of the best running backs in the Big 12 and had a monster game against Kansas to get right back on track. A huge part of that was likely the fact that the Kansas defense actually had to account for passing plays. Dillon Gabriel returned and was in form, although he did have a few of his trademark head scratchers and 3 unexpected turnovers. He was a welcome face to see back. Gabriel spread the ball out to 7 different receivers and 2 of them eclipsed the 100-yard mark. The offense was far from perfect, but still put up 52 points despite leaving some on the board against a decent Kansas defense. The success the offense had was very necessary to get the team on the right track headed to face what is arguably the best defense in the Big 12. Speaking of defense, the Sooners D gave up 42 points to a backup quarterback, and somehow things still look like they're trending up. Players looked a little less lost through the game and some great plays were made, but for every couple of great plays, there was a blown coverage, missed assignment, or a bad angle taken. Or in some cases, perfect defensive coverage that somehow results in a tipped touchdown. That's just how the dominoes fall sometimes. The good news for the Oklahoma defense is that they are up against an Iowa State offense that ranks near the bottom of the Big 12. So we could see even more improvement this Saturday. The Sooners show that they aren't just going to roll over and give up for the remainder of the year, which is great news. However, the team will still need to bring their A game for the rest of the season, and it starts against Iowa State. 2021 was supposed to be the year of the Cyclones. The three-headed monster of Brock Purdy, Breece Hall, and Charlie Kolar returned on a team that had just played in the Big 12 title game. New Year's Six Bowl was the expectation, but the reality was a disappointing 7 wins. And it didn't get any easier on the offensive side of the ball in Ames. Coming into the season, no one really expected Iowa State to have an explosive offense given the turnover on that side of the ball. Unfortunately, that resulted in what currently sits as the worst offense in the Big 12 statistically in both yards per game and points per game. That's not to say that this offense is completely anemic. Xavier Hutchinson has been a standout at wide receiver for the Cyclones. He led them in receiving last season and has already matched his touchdown total from last year and will easily eclipse his yardage mark. The 6'3" wideout will be public enemy number 1 for the Oklahoma defense. The run game has seen a clear drop-off since the departure of Breece Hall, which isn't a surprise. The Cyclones have failed to surpass the 100-yard mark in all 4 Big 12 matchups so far this season and have lost each one of those games. Through the air, sophomore quarterback Hunter Dekkers has played well considering his level of experience. While he isn't one of the better quarterbacks in the Big 12, he is definitely serviceable and has shown flashes of what he can eventually become. The unfortunate fact of the matter is that currently the offense as a unit is just not getting it done. Whether it's the at times bland play calling or an offensive line that occasionally becomes a turnstile, something always seems to be holding the offense back. The defense, however, is a totally different story. Last year, Iowa State's defense finished in the top 25 in scoring, rushing, passing, and total yardage defense. This year, they have improved in each one of those categories. Make no mistake, this Cyclones defense is legit. Any great defense starts up front, and Iowa State has a standout in defensive end Will McDonald, who is quickly closing in on the Big 12 sack record, needing only 1.5 sacks to tie it. Expect him to be causing mayhem at the line of scrimmage from the first snap. A big part of the success of the Iowa State defense can be attributed to its unique setup, a 3-3-3 look. 3 linebackers in this scheme, Gary Vaughn, Orion Vance, and Colby Reeder, are first, second, and fifth respectively in tackles for the Cyclones. Not surprisingly, the other 5 in the top 8 are defensive backs, followed by McDonald. This defense works well together. Players fill their role in assignment, and it has resulted in incredible success for Iowa State. The Cyclones are on a 4-game skid, but don't let that fool you. Their largest margin of defeat has been 7, and they've had very good chances of winning each one of those games. You made field goals here, a catch by your star receiver when he's wide open there, and this team is potentially sitting at the top of the Big 12 instead of the bottom. However, the reality is this. Iowa State is in the middle of their worst stretch in terms of wins and losses since Matt Campbell arrived in Ames. In order for them to defend Jack Trice against the Sooners, they'll need to cover a few bases. Keys to victory. We all know the Oklahoma defense isn't great. but they really start to fall apart the longer they're out on the field. If Iowa State can control the time of possession and wear on this Sooner defense, the offense might go from 0 to hero just like that. Let Xavier Hutchinson feast. It's no secret that the Oklahoma secondary struggles against big body receivers. 6'4" Texas wideout Jatavion Sanders had himself a day. 6'4" Kansas State tight end Ben Sinnott led the Wildcats in receiving yards against OU. And 6'3" Kansas receiver Lawrence Arnold put together his best game of the season in Norman. If I'm Hunter Deckers, I'm throwing the rock up there and letting Hutchinson come down with it. Dillon Gabriel had a bounce back game 2 weeks ago, and although it wasn't his best performance, a big part of the success he had was the fact that he was able to keep his jersey clean through most of it, only being sacked once. If the Iowa State defense can force him into uncomfortable positions and get some green on his jersey, we could see some Sooner possessions stall out quickly. I'll say it again, Eric Gray is special in space. Although Lebby loves getting Dillon Gabriel going in the passing game early, I'd like to see the Oklahoma offense emphasize running the football. Javonte Barnes has also shown glimpses of greatness at running back, so utilizing him, Gray, as well as misdirection and direct snaps will be key to try to get the ball moving against this staunch Iowa State defense. Speaking of the Iowa State defense, don't give them the football. The Kansas game was really the first time Oklahoma found itself in turnover trouble, amassing 3 turnovers that luckily didn't contribute to a loss. I don't expect this offense to be able to move the ball easily Saturday, so every possession will be important, especially once drives get moving. Winning the turnover battle will be key if the Sooners want to start a win streak. This Iowa State offense is the worst in the Big 12. This Oklahoma defense is the worst in the Big 12. All the defense has to do is suck less than the Cyclones offense. Don't make it look like Brock Purdy, Breece Hall, and Charlie Kolar are back, or it might be a long day for Sooner fans. These two teams are basically opposites. You have Iowa State, a great defensive team with an offense that's holding them back. You have Oklahoma, a great offensive team with a defense that's holding them back. Whose strength is stronger and whose weakness is weaker? I think Iowa State wins that battle, but doesn't win the war. Oklahoma built confidence in their win over Kansas and will come into Ames with a performance eerily similar to the first 3 games of the season. But in 2022 Big 12 Cyclone fashion, the game will be close. Sooners win this one, 28-24 on the legs of Eric Gray. Speaking of great Sooner running backs, check out my video here on the best running backs in Oklahoma history, and as always, have a great day and see y'all at the next one.